meeting to order. Roll.
Commissioner Ryan. Looks like he's muted.
Present.
Commissioner Campbell.
She will be late coming in on the meeting.
Commissioner Blower. Commissioner Jewell.
Here.
Commissioner Cook Hawkins.
Here.
Commissioner Sorensen.
He's
Present.
Commissioner Jordan.
Here.
Commissioner Wesley.
here. We have a quorum. The remote meeting announcement, Attorney Gurley.
Good evening, commissioners and participants. All boards and commissions must adhere to all laws established under the Michigan compiled laws and in accordance with the revisions of the Open Meetings Act adopted in Senate Bill 1108 as passed on October 13th, 2020, and signed into law on October 16th, 2020. A public announcement shall be made by each member who is attending the meeting remotely that he or she is attending the meeting remotely and, except for those in the military service, stating his or her physical location.
Commissioner Ryan.
Commissioner Ryan, appearing remotely from my home in Flint, Michigan.
Commissioner Campbell will be late. Commissioner Blower. Commissioner Jewell.
This is Commissioner Jewell appearing remotely from my residence in Flint, Michigan.
Commissioner Cook Hawkins.
Commissioner Cook Hawkins attending remotely from my home in Flint, Michigan.
Commissioner Sorensen.
Commissioner Sorensen. I am attending remotely from my residence in Flint, Michigan.
Commissioner Jordan.
Commissioner Jordan attending remotely from Flint, Michigan.
Commissioner Wesley.
Commissioner Wesley attending remotely from Flint, Michigan. Thank you. Any changes to the minutes? Any additions or changes to the minutes?
To the agenda, just want to make
I'm
that clear.
sorry, to the agenda. My bad. I'm looking at it and saying something differently. Any additions or changes to the agenda? Hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved. This is Commissioner Jordan.
There support?
Support.
I heard Commissioner Ryan, I do believe. and
Yes.
Okay. It's been moved and properly supported that the agenda be adopted. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I think I got everybody on that one. The agenda is so adopted. Next, minutes from July 22nd, 2021. Are there any changes or additions to the minutes of July 22nd, 2021?
Chair
Mr.
Wesley,
Okay,
Go ahead, Elizabeth.
I had just a correction on the last page of the minutes. It's a spelling correction to Patrick McNeil's name. So it's under new business there. McNeil is McNeal instead of IL.
where's that at? Commissioner
The
George?
last page of the minutes. Under
9
new
of 9?
business. Yep, 9 out of
Okay.
9.
Okay. Capital MC,
Capital NE and then AL instead of
Okay.
IL.
yep, AL, all righty. Any other corrections or additions to the minutes. Commissioner Jewell, I think you had something.
Yes, if you go to page 2, and under the section where it says public forum, you will notice there's a paragraph where Chris Yates made commentary. And a brief review of my notes indicated that 2 other individuals also spoke. I'm not sure if I have their names right, a Todd Campbell and a Mark Kruger. Jonathan, you can probably pull that out.
Just to be clear, pull out Chris Yates or pull out the statements that were made.
Yeah, pull out, there was I think there were 2 additional individuals that spoke. My apologies, and you can just, I don't remember what their commentary was. I don't have that right before me.
Okay, I understand.
But those,
Yeah,
the
this-
2 additional individuals plus their comments.
You say you
Right.
think their names was Todd Campbell and who, Bill? I mean, Commissioner Jewell?
Mark Kruger or Gruger,
Okay,
they were both, my understanding, they had both were opposed, spoke at the public hearing, but also used the public forum format for additional information.
okay. Are there any other corrections or additions?
Yes,
the minutes.
Commissioner, this is Attorney Gurley.
Okay.
I think you said that these were the meeting minutes for July 22nd,
Oh, June 22nd.
correct?
Okay, my bad. All right, Bob, you're looking at one thing and saying another one. June 22nd, 2020. All right. Any other additions or corrections to the minutes of June 22nd, 2021? Hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion for the improvements of the minutes of June 22nd, 2021.
Mr. Chair, this is Commissioner Jewell.
Mr.
I'll
Jewell,
make a motion to accept the minutes of June 22nd, 2021 as corrected.
do I hear support?
Support.
It's moved and properly
Commissioner Ryan.
supported that the minutes of June 22nd, 2021 be approved. Roll.
Commissioner Ryan,
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell, Commissioner Blower, Commissioner Jewell,
Yes, as corrected.
Commissioner Cook Hawkins,
Yeah.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan.
Yes.
I don't get a vote.
Sorry about that. Commissioner Wesley,
Yes. All right. I thought because I made that mistake, I was left out of that mix there. But I'm gonna get better here. The minutes of June 22nd, 2021 have been approved. Public forum. The public is invited to take part on anything appearing on our agenda this evening. If there anyone in the public wishing to address the commission, you can do so by pushing, what is that, *9, 6?
Yes.
Is there anyone in the public wishing to address the commission? Anyone in the public wishing to address the commission?
Good evening. I'd like to address the planning commission, please.
Please state your name.
Sure, Ashley Andrews.
Okay, Ms. Andrews, what is it that you wish to address the commission on?
I am addressing the marijuana variance request for location on Dort Highway. Is that still on the agenda for this evening? I apologize, I do not have the agenda in front of me.
That one, is that 2320 South Dort Highway?
2320 South Dort Highway.
It's been pulled from the agenda, but is it something that if you want to say, we will make note of it?
Sure. Has it been moved, and is it still something that you anticipate to come back in front of the Planning Commission?
It's been postponed, so it will come back before the commission.
Okay. I'm making reference to the 300-foot buffer for the residential zone. And then my other question regarding it is, what type of marijuana facility are they looking for? Because it doesn't state that in the notice of public, special public hearing that was sent out.
Okay, all that will be addressed in when it's been renoticed. It will give the type of request that's being made, and so forth.
Okay, and there will be a new notice that's sent out to the
Yes.
public then?
Yes, it will.
Okay, do we have a date as to when this has been postponed?
I think July 27th. Mr. Vandercook,
August the 10th, Commissioner Wesley.
August the 10th? Where did I get July from? August 10th?
Correct.
Yeah. August 10th.
Fantastic. I will plan to address the board then.
All righty, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to address the commission? Anyone else wishing to address the commission? Anyone else wishing to address the commission? Casey, is there anyone else on the line that we can call out?
There is no one else.
Is there anyone else wishing to address the commission? If not, that portion of the public forum is now closed. Next item on our agenda is a public hearing. We have no public hearing. Savannah Cook, would you update the commission on, I think it's Green Sky and the one on 2320 South Dort Highway?
Yin Jing, thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Wesley. Regarding PC 21407, Green Skies Healing Tree LLC request a marijuana facilities location variance from 300 feet from a residential zone at 3401 Corunna Road, which was PID 4023-101-1010. They've withdrawn that application. We at the previous meeting, it was postponed till this meeting, June 23rd. That application has been withdrawn for a variance request. The applicant, Green Skies Healing, and their attorney, Brenda Williams, has refiled an application for a Group B adult use with a blight plan, and that will be presented at the June 27th meeting. So there's been a public, there'll be a public notice sent out for that this Sunday.
Would that be June 27th or July 27th?
July, thank you, Commissioner Wesley, July 27th.
Excuse me, Bill, what facility was that?
That was for Green Skies Healing at 3401 Corunna Road. And
Thank you.
3401 Corunna Road applied for adult use a year or thereabouts, a little over a year ago, and the application was denied. So they're coming back with a blight plan with an application.
Thank you.
Sorry, this is Casey. Bill, did you say the legal ad got published, right?
I believe that it did. Is that
Yeah.
what, is that what we,
Yeah.
yes, okay, yes.
Yeah, just to make
Mr. Chair, this is Commissioner Jewell. I'm looking at Sunday Flint Journal, July 11th. And in the legal notice section or public notice, it is listed. PC 221-413 Green Skies Healing Tree LLC, and itemizes out what Mr. Vandercook is making reference to.
Okay.
and that is for July. That is for July 27th.
All right. Okay, Mr. Vandercook, the next one is,
Thank you. The next one that would have been heard this evening would have been PC 21412. Yin Yang requests a marijuana facilities location variance from a 300-foot from a residential zone at 2320 South Dort. That was for supposed to be for a Group G micro business. The application came through as a Group F. So the applicant requested to postpone to redo his application. Additionally, when we post the next legal ad, we need to ensure that there's a variance and it has that it's for a Group G marijuana facility at this address.
would it be a Group G or Group E?
This is going to be for a micro business.
So it'd be a Group G?
That's correct.
Okay.
And that'll be postponed until the August 10th meeting,
All right.
2021.
Okay. Is that all?
That's all. Thank you.
All right. Next is our site plan reviews. There are none.
There are none, Commissioner Wesley.
Okay.
Chair
Next.
Wesley, I just
Yeah.
noted one thing. I didn't catch it last time, but just a correction on the memo.
Oh.
Just a date. It's for the first one for Sylvester Broom.
Yeah,
It-
when we get to case reviews, that date should
I'm
have
sorry,
been
I jumped
11
ahead on the agenda.
11/24/20.
I'm sorry.
Yep. You
Shame on
jumped
you.
in front of me. That's okay.
Mhm.
That's all good. No site plan review. Next are case reviews. SPR 20-941 Sylvester Broom Empowerment Village is requesting a site plan review at 4119 North Saginaw Street, PID 4636 428-059. As Commissioner Jordan was saying, the date on that review, it should be 11/24/2020, not 21.
Right.
Okay. Mr. Vandercook, anything else you want to, you can go down, you can follow the list on down and run through those if you will, but the information is there.
Thank you. We have no report for Sylvester Broom, SPR 20-941. There's no report for SPR 21-945 Communities First. And there's no report for 21-946 Secure Can Inc.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Wesley.
All right. Is there any,
Mr. Chair, this is Commissioner Jewell.
yes, Commissioner Jewell?
I know we've kind of left it in their area to respond. However, it's been over 6 months. Would it or would it not be appropriate for staff to make an inquiry to these applicants as to their status of response? Because my memory and my notes are correct where they said they would have the follow-up information to us at the next meetings, and it's been 6 months.
Commissioner Wesley, can I respond just for that, if you don't mind?
Yes, go ahead.
We've had correspondence with all of these applicants, correspondence, they haven't finalized. They're, I would say that Communities First and Secure Can are getting close to finalizing. And when I say finalizing, finalizing their site plan and information requested so that you could review that, Commissioner Wesley, for
Okay. Okay, Commissioner Jewell, does that address your question?
Yes, it does. When I heard no report, I was under the false assumption that there was nothing. But if staff is reporting that they're in process, that's fine with me.
Very good. Next item is reports, status of the permanent marijuana ordinance. Assistant City Attorney Joanne Gurley.
Good evening once again. As I noted that there was a draft schedule from Kelly Kurtzner prior to her leaving. I was able to have a discussion with the city attorney, and what we're looking at trying to do for Articles 7 through 12 is to present that this fall to council. So as we get closer and try to work through this process of becoming reacquainted with the entire schedule, I understand that each of the 6 articles in increments of 6 articles would go for discussion and approval.
Mr. Chair, this is Commissioner Jewell. Are we talking about the draft zoning ordinance and sections, or are we talking about the permanent marijuana ordinance?
Permanent marijuana ordinance. That's what we're.
Yeah, that's why my confusion, if we're talking about the permanent marijuana ordinance, it was my understanding to my notes from the past several meetings that there was some discrepancies regarding certain districts, and that there was a process to be pursued regarding amendments. And that at our last meeting, Attorney Gurley was going to set a time frame with the city attorney in resolving those amendments. So I'm a bit confused.
Well, you're confused because I was confused. So I apologize for that, because what you're referring to is a discrepancy with one of the maps. And I have been really focused in on the articles for the zoning ordinance. So I apologize for that. And I will have the correct information for you for the July 27th meeting.
Okay, Mr. Chair, in your role as chair, if you could helpfully take a process in following up, because we were informed at our last meeting regarding the discrepancies in the draft ordinance and the amendments that we'd have an update today regarding that.
Yeah, I think Attorney Gurley had said that she will correct that and have that information back to us by our meeting on July 27th.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Attorney Gurley. If that's all of that, we'll deal with that.
Thank you.
Status of the marijuana related revenues. Ms. Wilcott.
Hi, I'm sorry. I
Okay.
was trying to unmute. The money is still there. There has been no further action on that money. It's still in an account. We have not had a discussion about the use of that money other than any further discussion, other than we will be still and are still looking to hire a second planner and potentially utilize that money or another source of funds that might be identified, but it is still available. It is still in an account and has not been utilized yet. So I don't have a report beyond that.
Okay. What about the status of the draft zoning ordinance and staff?
Mr. Chair, this is Commissioner Jewell. I appreciate Suzanne's report regarding the marijuana related revenues, but according to my notes, it was going to, this is the same report we've been getting for the past several meetings, and it sounds to me, and what I'm hearing is that there hasn't been a discussion. And we've been informed that there would be discussions, and that there would be an update provided to us. So, Mr. Chair, I leave that to you in regards to when we are actually going to get that information.
Well, I don't know if you can, what arms you could bend to see what, to try to force them to get what they're going to do with the money.
Well, no,
What's that?
my understanding, I may be incorrect, is that it's been reported to us that there's been no further discussions. So my question then would be, why are there not any further discussions, and what's the process to make sure there are further discussions?
Suzanne, do you have an answer to that? Because I don't know if there's something that we can discuss, outside of this meeting, but I don't know what action we can take here to get somebody to discuss something with us.
Yeah, other than the conversations that I have had with the mayor, that money, the only discussion that I would go beyond what I've already had would be with Joanne to determine, and I'm happy to do that, Joanne, and you and I could maybe talk tomorrow, because I have had conversations with the mayor about the money and being able to utilize it for the Planner One. And what I've been told is that regardless of whether that money was used for that or whether there was other funds used for that, that we would be able to hire a general fund. And if you remember, to hire a Planner One. And if you remember a conversation a few months ago, that was the discussion as to whether we could use those funds for a Planner One. So at this point, the only other and so my concern was being able to utilize those funds to hire a Planner One. And I have been told, and the position has actually been posted, and the funding has actually been identified. So I have less of a concern with the use of those funds at this point. The only thing that I would say as to a further discussion would be for Joanne and I to maybe discuss the use of those funds and whether they are restricted for actual marijuana expenses, which I don't know the answer to that, but I'm happy to try and schedule that conversation tomorrow or Thursday with Joanne if she's available. And then we probably need to do additional research. But my concern initially was being able to utilize the funding for a Planner One, and that concern has been alleviated.
Okay. All right, I think that will address any concerns that I might have with that at this point. Next is the status of the draft zoning ordinance and staff update. And I see we're looking for a Planner Two. Was it Planner Two? And
we are looking for, we are not looking for a Planner Two. We're looking for a Planner Three.
Planner Three.
Our lead planner, which is a Planner Three, it was Jeffrey Schiffman. Right. And he has since departed the city. He was working part-time, but that working in that capacity actually ended last week. So we are without a Planner Three. That position has been posted. I believe I have 2 applicants that I'm reviewing. I'm sorry, 3 applicants that I'm reviewing right now, and we'll be scheduling interviews as soon as possible with that. But it's a Planner Three, not a Planner Two, and that's the lead planner position. And we're moving forward on hopefully getting someone hired for that.
The draft zoning ordinance.
I think this was what Joanne was, excuse me for interrupting, but I think this was what Joanne was talking about earlier. So I will defer to her to discuss that.
Yes, my comments were in reference to that item, Commissioner Wesley.
Okay, Attorney Gurley, you want to start with that? And you know something, that soft voice you have, I enjoy, but could you speak up just a little bit?
Absolutely. Is that,
Thank you.
okay, sure. So what I was referring to is that there was a schedule that was presupposed me, and what the city attorney and I spoke about was getting back onto the schedule for the next articles, which were 7 through 12. And we were looking to have that before council by late fall.
Okay. Very
This is
good.
Commissioner Jordan. So just
Commissioner Jordan.
one note to be aware of. So if the thought is to get this kind of second out of 3 batches to council by late fall, and I do know that we have council elections that are going to be occurring
Yeah.
in November, and I wonder about, depending on who ends up being elected, are we going to have to restart this whole process?
Oh, God.
Thank you for that. We will certainly check into that just to make sure that we at least get the first set. So I'll keep that in mind, that we would not go close to the election, that we would try to do that before so that there's no major disruption here. Thank you for that.
Okay.
Sure. I mean, is there any, I mean, I realize that we also don't control the time and pace of council and when they take things up, but was there any thought to trying to structure it in a way so that all 3 sections might be under the current council's tenure?
Actually, that was not a consideration that had come to mind, but now that you bring that up, it certainly will be brought to the city attorney's attention so that we can try to do that. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, this is Commissioner Jewell.
Yes, Commissioner Joel.
I know as time goes on, our draft zoning ordinances keep getting, I'll use the expression, keep getting pushed further, and further away. It hasn't been weeks. It hasn't been months. It's almost becoming years. And zoning is an integral part of the operation of the city. And if or we were to go back through our notes and review what was presented to us as timeframes and time processes and presentations, as time goes on, they keep getting altered and changed and pushed further. So the question that I just posed as an open-ended question is, when are we going to get to the business of taking care of city work? So I'll just leave it at that.
That is a valid point, but we have, we presented all of this to council some time ago, and they're the one that says, let's, bring this back before us and let's renew it and redo it again. So, it's different levels here of if you wanted to try to place blame or saying inefficiency that we have to go through. And I think it starts with our council. So, I can't fault Attorney Gurley, and I think she's going to make every effort to try to move this forward and look at those concerns that Commissioner Jordan has brought up as far as the election coming up and how we can get this stuff on the agenda and not to conflict with that. I think that's the things that we have to the things that we can control, because there's some things in here we can't control.
Chairman Wesley, and I'm supportive of the commentary that you're making. My comments I'm sharing is in part for the record, so that
Very well, then it's been noted.
so that if questions are raised as we go further of what's happening with the ordinance and the draft zoning ordinance, that we as the planning commission have continually fulfilled our questioning and our inquiries regarding process and status.
Okay.
Just my
So
comment.
noted. So noted, Commissioner Jewell, and thank you for that. Attorney Gurley, is that all for the draft zoning ordinance?
Yes, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next is the City of Flint City Council public hearing, status of the Planning Commission recommendation for PC 21408 Schultz Acquisitions LLC. And some of you might have had the note about passion something. I don't know where that came from, but we've already discussed that. But the request for rezoning from D4 to D5 at 448 South Saginaw, PID 4118107019. Ms. Wilcox, we've looked at, I think all the commissioners might have had the memorandum in their packet that was going to council, and I understand council postponed action on this. So, Suzanne, is there anything that you want to say, or Attorney Gurley would like to say, or the commissioners to address either that memorandum issues that you might have? Go ahead.
Sure, I'll speak to it initially, and then Joanne, feel free to add anything that I may have missed. But you did prepare, staff prepared a memorandum to council. If you'll recall, Bill and I had a conversation and we shared that with the Planning Commission about the process for a rezoning when the Planning Commission recommended denial. And the process that we initially determined needed to be followed per the zoning ordinance was actually incomplete. So the memorandum, you'll know we set a public hearing while we work to kind of further refine that process. The public hearing was set, the memorandum was prepared, the public notice was published in accordance with the requirement to have it posted 15 days prior to the public hearing. However, and we were getting ready to present the packet, including the memorandum and the staff recommendation and the Planning Commission minutes, et cetera, to City Council. When we revisited the process with Attorney Gurley to make sure that we were following the correct process, and it was discovered that we had omitted a couple of key steps, and the clerk's office in their publication had also not included one of the key steps, which included identifying the proposed ordinance and actually preparing the proposed ordinance. So I take responsibility for that. We do now have a template for this process. It has been done in my tenure. It has been done once before, and I did recall that. But I couldn't recall, and Bill was not able to locate the case, but it was done once before in 2019. The clerk's office was able to identify that. The template has been further developed. We requested that council postpone that public hearing so that we could properly notice the public hearing and prepare the ordinance as well as the memorandum to include all of the required documents, including a memo explaining the Planning Commission's decision, which was there, the application, which was there, and then we needed to also include the current map and a proposed draft map, which was not there, and the proposed ordinance, which was also not there because it had not yet been prepared, along with the staff report, which was there, and an ordinance review form, which was not. So we are currently putting together that packet to make sure that it's a complete packet. We did not provide the packet to City Council. We did explain that I did explain last night that there were some key things that were omitted from the publication, as well as the documentation that they needed to receive, and that we would be resubmitting. They actually dropped the resolution at our request, and we would be resubmitting a new resolution for another public hearing date, which will likely be August 9th, which is the first meeting that it could actually occur on to meet the 15-day notice requirement. And that, I think the deadline for that is July 23rd. So we will be setting up a meeting with the clerk's office, with the law office, trying to do that also for this week with our staff, and make sure that we are all on the same page in terms of the process, have a template in place, and have it available in the event that this happens again, so that everyone is familiar with the policy and the procedure and the ordinance for moving forward. So that is where we are on that right now. And if I've missed anything, Joanne, please add to that.
The last piece that I would add is that notice should also be given to property owners within 300 feet of the subject property.
Yeah.
Okay, to the commissioners, any comments that you like to make toward the memorandum and the information that you just received?
Mr. Chair, this is Commissioner Jewell. The packet that I received, I want to compliment all of the staff for all of the work and compiling the information. Suzanne and Joanne, thank you for following up and making sure that, the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed to make sure that there's a sense of consistency. I do have one question, and it's in my packet. There was the email from you, Joanne, to the staff regarding key things to take a look at. And there's a reference to a Passion Cafe public hearing on July 12th. Who is Passion Cafe?
As I explained to Commissioner Wesley, there was a quote, a parenthesis of that name, and it was in an email that was referred to me. So I thought that was one of the proposed names. The origin of that, I have been trying to find this afternoon. I've also began listening to the May Planning Commission to find out where that name has come from. But it was in a parenthesis with the address of the property at 448 South Saginaw Street. So I am still trying to find out where it originated, other than from the parenthesis that was in the caption of an email that was sent to me.
Understandable, because my confusion was, I went back to the original legal notice that City Council, the clerk's office, put out, which was Phil Schultz Acquisition, who was making the application and so forth. So then when I saw Passion Cafe, and then I was also a little bit confused because I know the property was originally known as Raspberries, I think was the name, as a business. And then there was reference during our May 25th public hearing of another business that Mr. Schultz had conversations with. And I don't think their name was Passion Cafe. So that's where my uncertainty came from.
I totally understand that. And I have to find out where that name came from, because as I stated, it was in a parenthesis in the caption of an email with the address. So I do apologize for any confusion surrounding that.
Because from my perspective, just as during our May 25th public hearing, it was for a rezoning. It wasn't an applicant wasn't coming in for a special regulated use. It was for a rezoning, and the applicant was Phil Schultz Acquisitions. though the presentation was being made as if it was a special regulated use. So I just wanted to make sure we were being consistent.
Yes, my understanding was it was a rezoning as
Right,
well. Yes.
right. Thank you ever so much.
Are there any
Absolutely.
other questions from commissioners to the attorney or Mr. Wilcott? Okay,
Mr. Chair, and to
Mr. Jewell.
Joanne, if you do discover where that came from, if you just pass that on to Commissioner Wesley as chair, that can help close the circle for continuity and so forth.
I sure will. Yes.
Okay. Next item on the agenda, I-475 committee update. Mr. Mateen.
Yes, hello. So on June 30th, I attended a meeting for the I-475/M21 corridor, a study that's currently taking place. The project participants include the Michigan Department of Transportation and Road Professional Services, and they engage multiple stakeholders from the city of Flint, the Mass Transportation Authority, the CS Mott Foundation, among other entities here in Flint. So some history of what sort of ignited this study. So the M21 highway, it stretches from Holland, Michigan, way on the west side of the state, and it goes to Port Huron. And a portion of that highway cuts through Flint. And so the portion of the street that the study is looking at, it includes Court and Fifth at the White Horse Tavern, to kind of give you a visual of where that is. And it stretches all the way to across 475. So if you were to take Fifth Street and go all the way down to where you can connect to Lapeer Road, if you were to keep straight and connect back to Court Street, you'd be in the cultural center area. So it's looking at those two one-ways, and they're trying to engage the public and get a bit of an understanding of if a two-way would be desired over a one-way. So the reason the one-way was incorporated into M21 in this area was due to a traffic congestion problems that were taking place in Flint when the auto industry was booming. So this was one of 7 different areas that had a lot of traffic. And they look at this area and they call it the business corridor. I think it's the central business corridor, excuse me. And so now that we don't have these capacity issues, they're trying to have the roads support the capacity that we have now. So just to kind of give you a quote to kind of sum that up, when the master plan was being developed years and years ago, and this one-way was being developed, they said the quote was, "Most urban traffic problems derive principally from an attempt to serve today's traffic with yesterday's streets." And so that same quote can be applied to today's terms. And so this meeting was to discuss public outreach that has been done. And so the main thing that they touched on in the meeting was a poll that was given out to the public. So this is a survey. It asked 4 different questions that, look at my notes here. So that's 4 different questions, which include whether or not to turn the street from a one-way to a two-way, what to do with the extra space that's created, the preference on an intersection type, and then an opinion on Fifth Street crossover at the I-475 highway. And so the public response to this is very low currently. There have only been 35 people that have responded. And so they are trying to increase their efforts to reach out to the public and get more responses. So I will be putting a link in the chat to the website where the survey is held. The survey is going to be available to the public at least until early September, when the project study ends. So it ends on September 10th. They are going to have another broader public meeting, and that date will be released at the next meeting. I can give an update on that when we get back on the 27th. And so I just encourage everyone here to take that link, take the survey. It's very fast, and try to push it out to as many people as you know, just so that we can get more public input on this. I do want to finish by saying that once the report is put together, and by the way, this is not like, none of what they're doing now is going to be final. This is just an exploratory thing for now. They'll kind of write up a report once the study is finished, and then they'll decide what to do from that point. They are trying to engage more with the city of Flint because they are aware of the master plan. They're aware that we have a plan for that area, and they want more engagement from the city of Flint's part in deciding what to do in the future. And so, yeah, I just encourage everyone to take that poll, pass it out to as many people as you can, and try to incorporate more of the public response. So there are no more questions, or no questions at all, then I can move on to the neighborhood symposium update.
Pump your brakes, Jonathan. You're not moving on just yet. You're not getting off that easy. Elizabeth, I think you had a question.
Yeah, and just a thought. First of all, I really appreciate the summary that you provided of that meeting. And certainly I can think of different avenues for getting input. There's, as you probably know, there's some pretty active neighborhood groups along that corridor. That you've got the Grand Traverse neighborhood. Then you've also got the Central Park neighborhood and East Village all along there. So if they haven't already reached out to those neighborhood groups, I know that one of the approaches that we used in the master planning process to get input was to try to actually host sessions in partnership with some of those neighborhood groups, or at least to be able to get on the agendas for their monthly meetings to provide information about how they could participate. So those sorts of things might be useful. I know that groups like East Village Magazine too have a real interest in that geographic area, and often we'll do things like run features or that sort of thing. So, getting in touch with them might be another option to kind of get the word out to people who live in that neighborhood.
That sounds really good. And I forgot to mention that the Central Park Neighborhood Association, they are listed as a stakeholder. And I was told that this group, MDOT and RO, they have reached out and touched bases with Flint Neighborhoods United. And so I will be sure to pass on your suggestions as well, just so that we can try to incorporate more of the public.
Jonathan, just for clarification, I think it needs to be, because you talk about Court Street and Fifth and running, from a one-way to a two-way. And in my head, it's still it's confusing, because a lot of folks was talking about, 475, and they're going to break that up and bring it up through the Cultural Center down to, like Robert T. Long Way, that area. Is that the same thing that we're talking about here?
So that was not addressed at all at this meeting. They only spoke towards that one-way section of M21, and they didn't mention during that specific meeting, nor in meetings prior to that, anything to do with the stretch of 475 that they wanted converted into a sort of a business corridor. Right. I'm not sure if that segment that was run in the news was just a thought. I can't really speak to that 100%, but right. This study is specifically geared towards the one way.
It's the M21. Okay.
M21, yeah.
Okay, very good. Is there any other questions from the commission to Mr. Mateen?
Job well done.
Well, thanks a lot.
Thanks, Commissioner Jewell. Thanks, Elizabeth, for that input as far as the neighborhood associations that we touched on during the master planning process, because I want to get as many folks involved in this as possible, so they can say they had a hand in it. I think when folks see that they had a hand in something, you get less pushback with that. Okay, Jonathan, the North Flint Neighborhood Action Council Symposium.
Yeah, so I did give a brief presentation. Special thank you to Commissioner Jordan for preparing that PowerPoint for me. I was able to present that to the group, and I shared with them the history of the master plan here in Flint with a new master plan, the Imagine Flint version. I also shared with them some misconceptions and cleared those up specifically regarding some of the language in the master plan on green innovation and green neighborhoods. And I also shared the Imagine Flint website. So the questions that I got back really was one specific question. And I think it just highlighted how much time has passed from the previous time the master plan has been presented to the public at large. There seems to have been a drop in awareness of it. So I did let the group know that the ordinances are making their way through City Council and that 6 of the ordinances have been reviewed and approved, and that there are 12 more left. Am I right about that? I think it's, yep. So I let them know that, and I encourage them to keep aware of when those will be on City Council's agendas. And then it was suggested that we should probably reach out to some of the neighborhood groups that were initially engaged to make sure that they continue to have this information as it's being presented to council, and that they continue to be aware of the website because there seems, as I said, to have been a drop in awareness of it. So I think it was pretty good. It was nice and quick. And if there are any more neighborhood groups that would be interested in this information, I'd be comfortable going back out and presenting it again.
Okay, thank you for that, Jonathan. I'm glad. I'm really pleased that you students have that energy to meet with the neighborhood groups and get them involved, and that's fantastic. Okay, any questions or comments for Mr. Mateen on the North Flint Neighborhood Action Symposium? Okay.
Job well done.
Okay. Next item is the site plan review process. Commissioner Jewell.
Yes, as we're well aware from our past meetings, there have been some discussions regarding site plans and what are they about, how are they similar, how are they different. 2 meetings ago, we took some time in getting feedback from each of you regarding expectations. Presently, Bill Vandercook and I are in the process of taking a look at reviewing what is a site plan, what is an appropriate way to do a staff presentation to take a look at site plans and the variations in site plans. So as part of that process, again, each of us have a homework assignment. As you know, in your booklets, in your planning commissioner member binder, one known as the planning commissioner toolkit, there's a section on site plans. So again, take some time, review that as a core element. Secondly, on planning and essentials, there is a number of pages that also take a look at site plans. So it's important for each of us to take the extra time to become familiar with that as core information. That'll then allow that in putting together a staff presentation to take a look at the variations in different types of site plans and related materials and support information that staff will be provided. So that's my update, Commissioner Wesley.
Okay, Commissioner Jewell, any questions from the commission to Commissioner Jewell? Very good. Thanks, Commissioner Jewell, for your efforts there.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any resolutions? None. In old business, we have the American Rescue Plan. Mr. Vandercook, or should I go to Ms. Wilcox?
Hang
What
on,
y'all got?
I'm sorry, this is Suzanne. Every time I try to unmute, I have a problem getting back to that screen, so I apologize. I don't have any additional information on that. I talked to Bill earlier today, and part of the problem was I was out of the office last week due to some back issues. So my intention was to meet with Ms. Freyer last week. That did not happen. Bill and I talked today, and I did try to call her today. I was off today for some other issues too. But we were not able to touch base. So it is on my calendar to reach her tomorrow, and I will have an update for you at the next meeting. I can tell you that they are still working on getting additional guidance from the federal government on how exactly the funding can be used. And the more information that they get, the more restrictions it appears exist on those funds. So they are being very cautious so that the funding, when spent, is funding that is spent appropriately and not repaid. But I did talk to Ms. Freyer, as I shared before, about utilizing the master plan and the guidance specifically in the master plan, the strategic plan on where funding could be spent. And that will be the content of our conversation, which I will try to have tomorrow. So I do apologize. My intention was to meet with her last week. It did not happen for personal reasons, and I will talk to her tomorrow.
Okay. Very good. July 27th. So I put down that we should have something for July 27th is our next meeting, I believe.
Yes, and
Okay.
I will actually not be, most likely, I'm out of the office next week. But like I said, I'm talking to her tomorrow, and I will provide that information to Bill or John to present
Okay.
at Tuesday's meeting. I'm sorry, at the 27th. I apologize. I will be back by the 27th. Sorry.
Okay. All righty. Thank you. Any new business? No new business. And that brings us to the end of our meeting, folks. Was that everybody can get kids in bed and have dinner if you haven't had dinner? And I don't know if Commissioner Sorensen is cooking fried chicken or not tonight or whatever.
Not tonight. Whitefish tonight.
What? Fantastic.
Whitefish. Mhm.
Fantastic.
Hey,
All
can
right,
I
so-
have a lemon sauce with my white fish?
Oh, that sounds delicious. I use a lot of lemon.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay, Troop, if there's nothing else, Chair will entertain a motion for adjournment.
I will.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.